Well, June is winding down, and that means it's the end of Pride Month. Or is it? We've been told that it's going to be a summer of pride. I mean, really, why not just have it be year-round? It's the year of pride, right? I mean, how about the decade of pride? How about the... I shouldn't give them any ideas. There is one indelible image, though, that sticks with so many people when we reflect on Pride Month of 2023. It's this one from the White House. Yeah, the really unfortunate-looking transgender gay pride flag literally taking center stage with the American flag flanked to the left and the right, subordinated by the transgender flag there at the White House when Joe Biden was hosting his Pride event. That was before, of course, people started baring their breasts and running around on the South Lawn. That image left an impression on our next guest, executive editor at the Federalist, Joy Pullmann. And Joy, I really appreciated your article about this, where you referred to the pride flag as the flag of American occupation. That's a provocative take. Explain it, please.
Well, that's really what it felt like for me walking down my streets. I go walking with my husband and our dog very regularly. And I noticed that I was seeing many more pride flags than American flags. Basically, it felt like being in an occupied country. And that kind of, just jogged my thoughts to kind of think about that. And I think that symbolism is actually extremely accurate. And because we understand that the pride flag is really not merely a symbol of sexual license, it is also a symbol for using identity politics to erase the original U.S. Constitution.
Yeah.
That is the goal of the Pride agenda.
So, I mean, the founding principle of America was e pluribus unum, right? Out of many, one. We are together, we're unified, and we unified under that flag. And I guess what you're saying is when the American flag is subordinated, as it has been, to this other flag that is really just sort of represents a specific identity in this country, and let's face it, the political agenda that goes along with that identity, that it basically projects the exact opposite message. We're not out of many, one. There's you guys over there and then us, and we're going to dictate the terms going forward.
Right. So the United States has been undergoing a 100-year, perhaps longer process of slow regime change. And we have been shifting from natural rights that our government secures equally for all people to this division of people into these sliced and diced identity groups that are afforded special privileges and for which they must petition and influence and push around the government. So it completely inverts the traditional American understanding of every single citizen as having completely equal, full natural rights accorded to them, of course, by the Creator, and instead says your rights are subject to whether the government has decided that you're part of a group that gets rights. And to be honest, right, the granting of specific government privileges now is accorded to basically the people who are going to vote for the party of more government and more government control. So again, it's a complete inversion. It is really a regime change from limited government, from Republican small r, self-government, from complete equality before the law for all Americans under the equal application of the law, to some people are more equal than others. Some people get more privileges than others based on whatever identity groups the government has decided to recognize.
So LGBTQ activists will say, listen, in the history of this country, we had been marginalized, we had been bullied, we had been beaten up, we didn't have any rights or any voice. And pride represents our ability to actually step out of the shadows and say, no, well, this is who we are, and we're not going to be ashamed of it, and we're certainly not going to be bullied anymore. Are you saying that the pendulum has swung too far in this case? I mean, you're not a proponent of any kind of discrimination, I'm sure.
I think that really just sets up the thing in a complete opposite and discriminatory sort of way, even that question, right? Because it basically puts me in the position of saying, of course I don't support beating, right? It should be assumed, right, on good faith that obviously I don't want any of my fellow Americans to be mistreated or the subject of crimes, right? And so nobody is supporting that. What we are talking about is how, again, the classic American understanding of equality under the law protects every single person, no matter what they do in their bedrooms. And what I think really, LGBT people are being used for an agenda, and so and that actually subverts all their natural rights as well. Right. So very many, for example, if LGBT people do not support all the things that are being done in their name that include the erasure of essentially all the protections of the Bill of Rights in the name of pro-LGBT things. It's not pro-gay to not allow gay people to have the natural right to defend themselves, for example, with a lawful firearm. It's not pro-gay to take away the freedom of speech and the freedom of association that are enshrined in the First Amendment. It's not pro-gay to take away, the Fourth Amendment's protections for search and seizure, right? And so, well, again, it's not pro-gay actually ultimately, to go ahead and slice and dice our American polity into special rights that are given at the purview of government to only specific groups at the mercy of that big Leviathan government. Yeah. What is pro everybody is having all of us have the exact same natural rights, such as those that are enshrined in the Bill of Rights, given to every single person, no matter what they do at home and private.
Yeah, also, of course, the most prominent agenda item for the activists this year, certainly, that we've seen, has to do with so-called gender-affirming care. And there's something incredibly manipulative in the way that they're advocating for that. Here's Rachel Levine, who works in the Biden administration, characterizing gender-affirming care. Watch this.
It's such an important issue for our youth and adults. As you said, some of these laws are actually extending into adulthood. We often say that gender-affirming care is health care. Gender-affirming care is mental health care, and gender-affirming care is literally suicide prevention care. Would that be your view as well?
I 100% agree.
Joy Pullmann, this is a message that preys on terrified parents who are coaxed into moving down this dangerous path for their children, lest their kid kill themselves.
I mean, I actually think that is not surprising. Again, coming from the same people who want to take away equal rights from gay and all people in the name of helping LGBT people, this is just another example of of using a sympathetic minority to take away rights from not only that minority, but every single other person. In this case, we have, of course, the right of a child to be protected by his or her natural parents, and for the presumption of the parents to be older and wiser and caring about the best interests of their child more than any other entity is ever going to do. And all of that, as well as many other, again, just basic fundamental natural human rights that are historically, that our government has existed to secure in America, are being erased under the regime of identity politics that is using gay, transgender, and other people, including these sad children who obviously need love and care and appropriate treatment, not to have their bodies severed apart, but they're being used and manipulated for, again, a political agenda whose ultimate goal is regime change in the United States.
Yeah, listen, I think it's a very provocative message that you've laid out, and you lay it out in a very clear and concise way with a whole lot of facts backing it up, and it's a voice that needs to be heard more. Joy Pullmann, it's great talking with you. Don't be a stranger. I'd love to have another conversation.
Oh, great. Thanks for having me.
Executive editor over there at the Federalist, one of our faves. There's more to come. Keep it here on O'Connor Tonight. This is the Salem News Channel.